Welcome back in, everybody, to GM territory. Jim, we're only 6 days away from the trade deadline. And the exception of the meet in the early trade, there hasn't been a lot going on. Do you expect a flurry of trades to start trickling in, or what can you tell us?
Yeah, it doesn't sound that way, Trey. And talking to the GMs this morning, everybody seems to be pointing to the fact that all the activity is going to happen starting on Saturday. And it's probably going to end up being the last 24, 48 hours when they all come together. Believe it or not, we still have teams that are trying to decide if they're going to buy or if they're going to sell. There's been incredible dialogue amongst all 30 of these GMs on a regular basis. But, a lot of teams are just waiting to see how this week plays out. So I think it's going to get really fun and crazy as we get to Sunday and Monday. It's going to be fascinating. But as of now, everything's kind of on a slow roll.
Yeah, definitely slow right now. Is there anything you can tell us, or do you have any opinions on what the Tigers should do with Skubal? I mean, they just lost again last night. How does this change the Skubal talks?
I mean, it doesn't help that they keep losing, right? I mean, they couldn't beat the Orioles over the weekend, and now they have the Orioles. And I think the players, they feel the pressure. They know what time it is. Now, look, the Detroit Tigers are still within 4.5 games of a wild card berth. So it's not like, they've been eliminated. And this is a team, if they get hot in August and September, this could be a playoff team. I mean, keep in mind, they're a top 5 team in the American League in run differential right now. So, I mean, they do have the talent, and they've been really good since June. That being said, look, I find it hard to believe that the best play for them wouldn't be to trade their 2 best pitchers right now, Tarik Skubal and Casey Mize. And by the way, we're not talking about Casey Mize enough. I mean, if Mize gets traded, he'll be one of the best pitchers traded at the deadline. And like Skubal, he's a free agent. I mean, look, if Detroit wants to go for it, great. But what if they don't make the playoffs? What if you hold on to Skubal and Mize? How are you going to feel in October if you're not a playoff team and all you're going to get is draft picks for your 2 best pitchers on your team? And I kind of feel like sometimes you have to take a deep breath and you have to, ask yourself, if I trade both of them, how will it change 2027, 28, and 29? And I just kind of feel like if I was Detroit at this point, I would have to be engaged on both Skubal and Mize with every contending team, see how far teams would go, and give serious consideration to adding pieces. I mean, the one thing about the Tigers team is that they have a really good core for the long term, right? Dylan Dingler's the best catcher in baseball. Kevin McGonigal is one of the best young hitters in the game. Riley Green has become an absolute superstar. You've got a loaded farm system as well. And so if you were able to turn Skubal and Mize into 7 or 8 top prospects at the deadline, just because it's a buyer's market, what will you have done for your franchise going forward? I think you could significantly improve the long-term chances of the Tigers winning a world championship. So I'm not sure that I would put all my chips in to win just this year. And that's why this whole Skubal situation is the headliner of this trade deadline. Will he stay or will he go? I don't know.
It's a big risk that Detroit will take if they do trade him. In my opinion, I got to be honest, I hope they don't. I want to see the Tigers make a run for it. I understand that the value you can get for 27, 28, 29 is going to be there. But that division is so tight. And I just look at the Tigers roster on paper compared to all the other teams. And it's like, I think the White Sox have been outperforming what we all thought they would do. The Guardians have slowed down a little bit, but also at the same time, it's the Guardians. We know they're going to be in it until the very end. And as far as Detroit goes, they've gotten the taste of the playoffs the last few years. And I think they should hold on to him. That's just my opinion. All right, let's move now to the Boston Red Sox. Look, I've been scrolling on X. I've seen a lot of rumors swirling about these shortstops that they could potentially trade for. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah, all those reports are actually accurate. Craig Breslow, the general manager, is out there trying to look for another bat. He knows he has the pitching to not only make the playoffs, but to run the table in October. Now he's trying to build up the offense, and he added Curtis Mead in the trade with the Nationals earlier this week, trading Conley early, a little bit of an overpay, but he got that power bat he was looking for. Mead had 19 homers on the year for Washington. But the truth is, he is out there right now trying to get the best shortstops in baseball. And so let's go through some of the shortstops that he has contacted GMs on because it's amazing. So let's hit the graphics here real quick. Zach Neto of the Angels is the most likely one that he could acquire. He has talked to John Mozeliak, the president of the Angels. This is a player that has always had the potential of being 30 homers, 30 steals. He hasn't quite gotten there yet, but the talent and ability are there. Now, defensively, I think he's a below average shortstop, and the metrics don't like him, but I also think he has potential in the future to improve to at least average. But let's look at some of the other shortstops that he's pursuing. Here's C.J. Abrams of the Nationals. Now, I think it'd be a huge mistake if Washington trades Abrams. But remember, Preslow and Taboni worked together in Boston, and Taboni knows this Red Sox farm system. And if Boston wants to unload the farm system for Abrams, there probably is a pathway that this could happen. So this would be incredible for Boston. I love Abrams. I think he's an MVP candidate. He leads the league in RBIs with 82. He's an exciting young player. But that's not the only star shortstop he's chasing. Let's go back to the graphics. How about Elly De La Cruz of Cincinnati? The Reds offered him a contract larger than their Joey Votto contract. They offered him the largest contract in Reds history. He's turned it down. At some point, you have to understand either you're going to be able to extend him and pay the piper and pay the price, or you have to consider trading him. So there's another name that they've at least touched base. I don't think they're going to get him. Here's another guy. They've talked to Miami about Otto Lopez. That's right. Peter Bendix, the president of the Marlins, is listening to the Red Sox on Lopez. If he can get overwhelmed, he'll consider it. Otto Lopez may lead the National League in batting average this year. He was an all-star. He's a young star player. So look, the Red Sox are everywhere trying to get a shortstop. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to land one. I think the asking price is going to be so enormous that it becomes prohibitive. But I think if they get one of those four guys that we just demonstrated, it'll be Neto of the Angels. So that's something to watch.
Yeah, it sure is something to watch. I got to ask you, though, that asking price for one of these big shortstops, it's got to be pretty high, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically your farm system. I mean, look, I mean, we could talk about the return for Skubal. The return for guys like Abrams and De La Cruz would be way more than what the Tigers will get for 2 months of Skubal because you control these shortstops for years to come. And so the asking price because of that becomes even bigger. So, yeah, it would be an absolute gigantic, enormous return for teams like Washington or the Reds if they decide to trade those guys because, let's be real, that's their best players.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you about one more shortstop. And I know you've been in talks with some of these executives. Jeremy Pena, is this someone the Red Sox could go after as well?
Yeah, it is. And they got dialed tone when they called Dana Brown. He's not moving to Pena. In fact, Pena was just named National League Player of the Week. So congratulations to Jeremy. Look, last year he was their best position player all year. Of course, Yordan Alvarez was injured. This year, he's their second best position player to Yordan Alvarez, who is probably the MVP of the American League. But Pena is the full player, offensively, defensively. He's a superstar, great makeup, great character. Boston called about Pena, and they got the old click dial tone.
I'm sure you've gotten the old click dial tone multiple times in your career. Now, being a general manager for 17 years, when you're 6 days away from the trade deadline, what's a day in the life look like?
Well, you know you're not going to sleep, and you know that you brought your pillow into the office because you're going to be sleeping there. Look, it's very intense. So you're usually spending your day in the war room rather than in your office. And in the war room with all your magnetic and whiteboards, you've got your trade targets from all other 29 teams. You're in discussions, and whatever your needs are, you've got the ranking of players that you want to trade for that would fill those needs. But you're engaging. So if you're looking for a right-hand hitter, outfielder, let's just say you have 7 names on the board, you're going to prioritize them 1 to 7. And then you're going to be engaging with all 7 GMs on those right-hand hitting outfielders, trying to find out what it would take to land them. And then all that information you've got on the board, you're studying it. And then you're getting a pretty good idea where the most likely trade could come from. Maybe it's 2 of those 7, maybe 3. And then you just can continue to grind. You're not going out for lunch. You're not going out for dinner. Lunch and dinner is being brought in. You're going to eat too much pizza this week. but you're going to be on your phone all the time. You're going to have video cameras. You're going to have monitors all over the place with videos of the players you're trying to acquire. You're going to continue to have dialogue. You're going to keep your owner informed 2 or 3 times a day of what you're working on, what could be realistic, what couldn't be realistic. If you're in a position where you're trying to decide if you're going to buy, sell, or hold, again, you're having constant discussions. And look, you're on the phone with your minor league managers and hitting coaches and pitching coaches, your analytic department, your artificial intelligence people, your medical people. You're going over medicals on players you might be trading or you might be needing to acquire. You're dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, and you're grinding, and you're biting your fingernails. You don't need nail clippers this week. Your teeth will get that job done. And so, yeah, it's a busy time. It's a very intense time. This is the most important time of year for a general manager. This is it. This is the Super Bowl. This is the World Series. This is your time to shine. This is the only time during the season where the general manager or president are more important than the star player. This is the time where you make a difference for your franchise, either winning now or winning in the future. You're never going to have more leverage in making trades than when there's a deadline. And that deadline is Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
And with that deadline coming up, what are the Angels doing? I mean, that's a team that I'm expecting to make a lot of moves. I mean, that's all I can think about. If I was the general manager of the Angels, I'm looking at 27, 28, 29, even 30. Have you heard anything with the Angels and if they're moving?
Yeah, I have. And I would start by saying this, Trey, lower your expectations. I think a lot of Angel fans are out there thinking, oh, they're going to trade Detmers, and they're going to trade Soriano, and they're going to trade Neto, and they're going to trade Trout, and they're going to trade O'Hoppe. And take a deep breath, everybody. Take a deep breath. First of all, Mike Trout's not getting traded. So put that in cement and finish that conversation, okay? Now, John Mozeliak, who's the new acting general manager, has a long history of making successful moves, but his moves are usually precision. He's not a wheeler dealer. He's not an AJ Preller or Jerry DiPoto that's going to wheel and deal and all of a sudden have 4 press conferences and trade this guy and that guy. That's not going to happen. He also has to get approval from owner Artie Moreno, which has never been easy for any general manager that's worked for him. I think you're looking at 1 big trade by him, maybe 2, but not more. That's been his history when he ran the Cardinals for decades. That's what I'm expecting with the Angels. He's in a place where it's a little more difficult to make trades than it was St. Louis with the ownership group that he's got there with the Angels. But I do think he will make a significant move or 2. But I would say, best case scenario, he trades either Detmers or Soriano, but not both, and either Neto or Adele, but not both. That would be my expectations to Angel fans.
All right, that's pretty fair expectations. All right, there's one more team I want to ask you about, and that's the San Francisco Giants. Have you heard any updates regarding the Giants?
Yeah, I mean, it appears Robbie Ray and Luis Ariz will probably be wearing new uniforms come Monday night. It seems like those are the 2 that have the most traction. Now, I know that we've heard out of San Francisco that they're willing to trade Rafael Devers, Willie Adames, and Matt Chapman. I'm being told by opposing GMs that the contracts just make it so difficult, and the Giants would have to pay down so much money that a deal just couldn't work out because even if you pay it down, you're not going to get the prospect return. So with the Giants, I think it's more likely that the guys that get traded are Ray, Arias, and outfielder Heliot Ramos is a guy that could get moved as well. So those are the 3 guys I would pay attention to. They could move a reliever as well. And one last thought for them. Tyler Mahle threw so well last night that if I'm a team like the Phillies looking for a back of the rotation starter, not a guy that's going to start a playoff game, but a guy that can help me get there, he would be the perfect fit in Philadelphia. And I understand he likes their cheesesteaks as well, like I do.
Yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't? All right, everyone. Well, look, thanks for tuning in. Please do us a favor. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. And we'll be back tomorrow with hopefully new news. All righty. Ciao and chillax.
We on.
If you made it this far, you'll love the next video. Check it out right here. And make sure you subscribe to GM Territory. And you're here when we start talking trades, free agent signing, and prospects.